മാം ഇതിനകത്ത് പേരിനകത്ത് നമ്മൾ നമ്പർ UIN ID വല്ലതും ചേർക്കും ആണല്ലോ അല്ല അത്ര കുറേ
Good afternoon. We are gathered here for the 34th episode of the webinar. Today's topic is raising awareness of eye care and eye donation. For this, as our first speaker, we have Dr. Rakesh Mudgal. He is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil Educational University, an institution deemed to be university at Kolhapur, Maharashtra. He has received specialized training in productivity management and has also undergone faculty training at IIM Bangalore. His teaching and coaching abilities, coupled with his passion-led style of leadership, has allowed him to build institutions with a huge scale. Previously, he was the Vice Chancellor at Tirthankar Mahavir University at Moradabad. With over 37 indexed national and international publications, which have been extensively cited, he has guided more than 15 PhD students. His commitment towards higher education systems have won him numerous awards, including the GEM of YMCA-IE, Visionary Award Leader of Hindustan Unilever, 100 Most Influential Vice Chancellor at World Education Congress 2016, and the Best Vice Chancellor Award at Pehchan 8 Rajiv Gandhi Excellence Award. An avid reader, he inspires mutual respect and trust among his team with inclusive, transparent, and participatory administrative style of working. Sir, I invite you for the first talk on eliminating preventable blindness.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to all the participants, and my special greetings to Honorable Chancellor, Vice Chancellor of Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, and my co-resource person, Dr. Susmita, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of IIIT, Bhubaneswar. As we will be touching upon a very important aspect, how to really eliminate preventable blindness. The challenge before us is how to reduce this particular issue, which can be prevented to zero, because when we say eliminating, it has to be totally, the target has to be zero. That means the disease which are falling into preventable category should be reduced to zero. How we can do it? What are the initiatives we need to do it? What are the reasons because of which we are basically facing such a type of a problem? So we will be quickly discussing about, and I'll be taking something around maybe 20-25 minutes, whatever has been allotted to me. Hope the slide is visible. Hello, is the slide visible?
Yeah, yes, sir, visible, sir.
Good, good. So quickly we'll go to it. Let's set the background, why it is so important for us to really talk about eradication of blindness, and especially which can be prevented, because as per the literature and the experience of people, the 90% of blindness can be prevented, and maybe more if we have what to call such a technology made available to us. This is slightly possible, but with the current scheme of things and the capability we have with us in the nation, 90% of the blindness can be prevented. How we will be taking up, let's why it is so important, because we have got 5 senses. Just to set the tone of the topic which I have to deal with, we have got 5 senses. We all know there's no point in investing more time onto it, but this is just for the bringing the discussion into the right perspective. So what is important for this particular session is that in what is the proportionate contribution of all these senses in our learning process, because learning is something very essential. If we talk about there's a need to live, that's the fundamental one, goes to need to love, need to learn, and need to leave legacy. So need to learn is a very, very important aspect, and we primarily learn through our sensory organs or senses, and the contribution of the sense organ eye is something 83%. If you look into the percentage, taste contributes to something around 1%, 1.5 is being contributed by the touch, then 3.5 approximately it is through smell, and 11 is through hearing, and 83 through sight. And that is why it becomes more important and imperative on part of each one of us, all the citizens of the nation and more the practitioner, that we should devise strategies, mechanisms, programs, and policies so that we are able to really eliminate the blindness. Right. We'll be discussing about, we all know what is blindness, then what is the etiology of blindness, then what is the magnitude currently, and how to control it. These are the 4 areas we'll be discussing about. Now, there are 2, WHO has basically classified the visual impairment and blindness into 2. One is the distance, and other is the near one. So distance, anything 6/12 to 6/18 falls into the category of mild visual challenge, or moderate basically ranges from 6/18 to 6/60, and the severe is between 6 60 to 360. That's the something very, very challenging one. And this the definition basically how we go about in deciding it, that somebody who is not able to read or decipher symbols at a distance of 3 meters in a daylight, which is large enough to be read by a normal person at a distance of 60 meters, that is 3 by 6. Normally 6 by 6 is considered as a normal eyesight, but anything which is between 6 by 6 to 6 by 12 is taken perfectly as acceptable one. Now, this is how we talk about the near vision also, but what are the basic key facts as of now, and we will be surprised, shocked, and will definitely commit ourselves to this particular concern of each one of us. Globally, something around 41,000 crores of US dollar we are losing onto this basically visual impairment as such. That's the normal estimation, which is a current one. Then the leading cause are basically for uncorrected in refractive errors and cataracts. Cataract and basically RE is something which is very, very prominent for cause for this. And normally people say that is above 50, but people less than 50 are also started. Globally, around 2.2 billion means that is something 220 crore, 27.8% of the total population has got challenges either for the near vision or the distance vision. That's the something very, very high. And out of this, about 50% can be easily handled and they could have been prevented. This is what the WHO says, that is based on the information available as of 13th of October 2022. And as far as our country is concerned, we have got 93 lakhs visually impaired people, and out of which, and 2.7 lakh blind children with more than 75 can be treated or preventable. This is what based on the information published in Business Standard on September 9 of 2022. Which is, now let's talk about what are the various type of blindness we talk about. Avoidable blindness, basically is a combination of, or it is sum total of the preventable blindness, what is the basic focus of today's webinar, and then curable one. Preventable, which would have been prevented, like the infection, trachoma, which is basically infection, it should be prevented. That means it will be totally avoided, or something which should have not happened. That is something, if we are able to really take the preventive measures, the preventable aspect can be avoided. Then there's a curable, that we have to do some interventions by prompt healthcare management systems or surgeries or medications or like it could be, that is a cataract falls into this particular category, and combined together, preventable plus curable, they becomes the avoidable one. We can easily avoidable. And that is what I said is around 90% is avoidable type of a thing. Incurable, there is 5 to 10% which cannot be treated. That is something unfortunate part, but with the current technology and advancement in science available, this is the status. But definitely this could be of great interest to some of the people who are so committed to really make their contribution in reducing this particular percentage, which is ranging between 5 to 10%, which is falling in the category of incurable blindness, right? Then there are different countries which define blindness on different terms, like economic blindness. Anyone who is not able to really make contribution or make earning falls into this. Any vision which is less than 6 by 60 basically comes into this particular category, that one is not able to basically make any earning as such. It cannot engage into any economic activity. Then legally, again, it is 6 by 60. And this has got a field of vision also. There's another criteria added to it, that in the normal field of vision, if somebody vision is restricted to 10 degrees without movement of head, that will fall into legal what we call blindness category. Then social blindness, there's another challenge, that people are not accepted or cannot confidently move or become part of the society into normal interactions and gatherings. That is how this particular vision less than 3 by 60 is considered falling into social blindness. Then, of course, this is a complete blindness, that is one is only able to feel something which is 1 by 60 as such, which is known as manifest blindness. Then absolute blindness, of course, one is not able to really have any feel of, cannot perceive any light that way. And some of the things which are known to us, that yes, there's another concept known as color blindness, inability to distinguish certain colors, which is a challenge. primarily non-curable only with the training of the people, maybe the sequencing, like somebody is not able to perceive the red light or red color or the green color, then one can be explained that yes, in a what you call signals on the road, this is how it is sequenced. On top is the right, then between amber and then is the green. That is how one can be trained to really overcome this situation. But otherwise, it is something beyond what the current treatment protocols. It is not curable as of now. Night blindness, some people, they lose their blind sense of sight when their lights are dim or something like. This is what I basically thought of, which is can be like some people, it's a snow blindness, which people who roam around and they are exposed to different conditions, either by virtue of their work or otherwise by virtue of their leisure or hobbies. This is something which is gaining more space into the blindness sector as well. That this basically it is exposure of our eyes to the ultraviolet rays as such, and these are it is not only limiting to that we have to go to snow-peaked mountains and subject ourselves to this type of risk. No, it is possible in different settings. Not only and these are some of the things which we need to take care of. It is one could be basically can attract this particular situation, and more specifically when we are talking about roaming on the beaches which have got a white sand. Of course, snow-covered area, hiking in the mountains, sunlight reflected off the water also. Then tanning beds. Then another challenge. That is why we basically wear special glasses when we are doing welding or we are exposed to welding processes. And light-colored concrete and pavement. That's another aspect because it emits a lot many light and there's all possibility of damaging our light. That we need to be very careful. This because why I thought of bringing this particular point into discussion, because this is creating more people into this category, or this is a completely curable one. It is something like normal tanning. With the passage of time it goes, or with some application of ointment it goes away. Now this is the contribution of cataract is the highest contributor into all blindness, right? And 90% of total blindness among the 55% is and above is basically of the cataract. It is a calcification and then can be easily handled with the surgeries and other. Then refractive error, it is again contributing to something around 20% of all the blindness if it is not corrected. There are many solutions available for this also, and there are some of the 5% is through the causes of retina, that it includes because of the hypertension or diabetic or prematurity also. Then of course glaucoma is around 6%. If you come, and these are all curable ones. And of course these are the big list, which is because of the age also, because of the other areas, another genetic disorder of retinitis pigmentosa, malnutrition. Of course, this is another very, very alarming situation with the vitamin A deficiency. And then of course trauma and all accidental, and these things are, though they are very painful to undergo this particular situation, but as far as the total contribution in percentage is concerned, is lesser than. But if you look into this combined together make up something around 90% and totally curable. And there are some other factors also with the age. Of course, cataract is a very, very prevalent one. Then of course, based on the gender also, there is some difference in some of the disease, male versus female. Then occupation, there are certain occupation, there is basically hazardous one, and they subject an individual to all type of risk as far as the possibility of getting blind is concerned. And nutrition status of malnutrition, malnutrited children, they are all subjected to. Environmental, the pollution, overcrowding is another factor which one can bear in mind in case we are really focusing. It's not only the the body composition or something genetic. It is the environmental aspect which is also creating situation of leading to blindness. Then of course related to socio-economic factor, ignorance and illiteracy. There are people ignorant about it. People think that whatever we are blessed with, it is going to continue with all the time. But with certain amount of awareness, we can avoid some of such situation. Negligence, that's some, we avoid consulting doctors in a situation. If something foreign particle goes into eye and we just start rubbing, and in the process we damage the eye. low standard of personal hygiene is another strong contributor or enabler into blindness and lack of availability of healthcare services. This is another thing which we all aware of, that yes, it is something which is cause of concern, and all of us are really committed to really address this particular weakness in the system by our own contribution, by acquiring sufficient qualification, experience, and commitment, enthusiasm to contribute in this particular area. These are all avoidable one, as we discuss, and our commitment has to be that yes, no more avoidable blindness, cataract, glaucoma, ocular trauma, refractory errors, vitamin D deficiency, age deficiency, and infection like glaucoma and all. Right now, what are the various initiatives or at the various level, how we go about prevention of all these things? It is at the primary care center, secondary care, or tertiary care center. Like on the primary, as we all know, that focus is more onto the promotion and protection of eye health. These are the services either extended or need to be extended at the primary level. The vitamin A supplements. There's a scheme available under which the children below the age of 5, they are administered 9 mega units of vitamin A as such at a national program. Treatment of minor eye ailments such as removal of foreign bodies, treatment of conjunctivitis, or some of the other things, right? Then identification and reference. This is very, very important. If we are able to identify at early stage that whether it is onset of cataract or some corneal ulcer or penetrating foreign bodies or infection and painful condition, at the primary level itself, it has to be basically identified, segregated, and referred to the appropriate practitioner or a healthcare facility as such. Then this is something very, very important, because we may have the primary healthcare facility or setups available, but what do we do about the follow-ups? Because people come into when they are in a dire need of this service, and after that, the system also and the individual also forget that what follow-up need to be taken up. And then health education is a very, very important aspect. If we are able to make people aware of the personal hygiene, and more specifically related to eye, of course, it is needed for the entire system as such, but eye, since it contributes to a major portion of our learning and earning, they go hand in hand, because once we are able to really develop a habit of learning, the life becomes really so meaningful and joyful. And that as the tertiary level, of course, these all things are being at the secondary level, we keep on focusing on these particular areas, that all corrections related to refractory errors, cataract, glaucoma, then ocular trauma and whatnot. And of course, for this, there's an initiative majority of the institutions have taken, and the government is also mobile ophthalmic unit, and maybe through the camp approach, this particular thing can be easily handled. This is at the tertiary level, which requires a huge facility in terms of setup, the competency, and the post surgery or post hospitalization care. Then all these things can be taken care at the tertiary level, and which is very, very useful in case certain facilities are being created at an institution level or the hospital, which can take care of this. These are some of the programs. Government of India has basically included sight as a fundamental human right, and for that there's a special program, National Program for Control of Blindness, which was initiated in 1976, under which these are some of the initiative. There's a initiative known as School Eye Health Services, wherein the periodic health checkup, especially for the eye, for screening of the visual defects, because if we are able to really identify those children which have got a possibility of suffering from these, it is easier to handle them. Then another scheme under with this particular initiative is the counseling of teachers and parents for getting corrections of squint and other related issues. Then promote of health like this, how to really educate them what is the right posture while reading and writing. Proper lighting is needed when we are basically looking at as part of the studies and experimentations in the labs and classrooms. Then avoiding glaring, that's another way. Distance between eye and book, that's another initiative under this particular scheme, the students are guided onto this. Then this is something which is emerging. Another, what do you call, I will not say is a pandemic as such, but it is emerging one of the strong candidate for subjecting ourselves to a greater risk to our eyes is the how frequently and how dearly we are using the digital gadgets as such, because the screen time is going up and God has not designed our eye looking for a longer time on a font lesser than 12 as such. Beside other what you call emitting surfaces, we keep on gluing for a longer period of time. Then of course, need and usefulness of consuming green leafy vegetable and fruits. This is part of this particular scheme. Then as I said earlier, it is under this particular scheme, the children below the age of between 6 months to 5 years, they are basically given, prescribed as 6 mega doses. First, what you call 1 lakh IU at the 9 month, and 2 at between 16 to 18, and 2 at every 6 months up to the age of 5. This is what this particular thing, so that we avoid the deficiency of vitamin A as such. Then these are the occupational eye health services, use of protective devices when we are working in conditions which demands usage, but people avoid because of unnecessary having a feeling that it is giving us discomfort. If you lose sight, then the world is not visible to us, and we deprive ourselves of so many bounties of the nature around. Educational prevention of health hazards. This is another aspect, because safety saves. Prevention of accident by improving safety measure at workplace. This is another part of the requirement as such. Right. Then there's a Vision 2020, which WHO declared in February 1999, which Government of India adopted in 2004, under which these are some of the initiatives that at the primary level, there's a commitment to set up 20,000 vision centers, which will basically focus on refraction and prescription of glasses, primary eye care, school eye care screening program, and screening and referral services. This is what the focus is. Then under secondary one, service center around to the tune of 2,000, where cataract surgeries are the common surgeries related to correction of vision, and facility for refraction and referral services. And then tertiary, there's a combination of two. One is basically a training center, which will basically act as a tertiary eye care center, which will be focusing on the surgeries and transplant, especially on the glaucoma surgery and the training and continue medical education as such. And then the Center for Excellence, which will be basically working to train leaders on professional front. Then what could be the different strategies to bring about this development, where the focus is totally on elimination of preventable blindness, and then laying standard and assuring the quality and carrying out research along with the CMEs. That is what basic thing is. Then this is another aspect which is emerging now. It is not only left to individual to really find himself, or it is a combination of an individual and the community also, so that we are able to focus more onto promotive, preventive aspect primarily. And if that is not possible or it has not happened, then maybe we resort to curative, and then subsequently it has to be a rehabilitative aspect also, and which is basically a comprehensive strategy for providing healthcare to the community. And this is how a comparison has been done by one of the authors as such, that these are some of the differentiating factor between the clinical ophthalmology and the community ophthalmology. Whereas in clinical one, the goal is basically on treatment and cure, whereas in the community, it is preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative approach, right? And how to contain the spread of the disease such. The target is a single patient, whereas the entire community is being targeted as a community of ophthalmology, because the scale is used, the community has to, that focus has to be brought onto the community ophthalmology, not only the clinical ophthalmology as such. The diagnosis is a physical examination, laboratory investigations, and tests, whereas the health services, screening camps, or health checkup camps is the focus on the community one. Therapies are used under medication and surgery, whereas it is more onto the awareness and educating people and counseling them. The base is basically, of course, as the clinical being, it has the base has to be clinical only, whereas the community is as the name indicates, it is based on the community. Then relationship, it is a doctor-patient, where is a doctor-patient, social worker, and community volunteers are part of this. It is a bigger group. Then patient mobilization is clinical is low, whereas in community is very high. Then accessibility and affordability. This particular thing, community is a more what you call patient friendly, and research interest mostly clinical, whereas the population-based studies are there. And drive is the basically provider is driven, whereas it is basically community driven. This is what I thought maybe I must what to call focus on to the area which can really give more insight for further working, so that we are able to bring about the what to call the level of preventable blindness to 0-1. This is how the basic things are being under this particular initiative have been talked about. The promotive aspect, it is talking about nutrition education, because we have to promote health care or eye care. Then improved maternal and child nutrition. That's another thing which has to be kept in focus. Then only we can promote and bring about situation where there's no blindness, or there's always decrease into preventable blindness. Health education on eye health, face washing is another area. Good antenatal care, safe water, another challenge, because the safe water and safe air, this is something so premium today. Then improved environmental sanitation. Then curative, screening for vision, treatment for vitamin D deficiency, referral for surgery, treatment of trachoma, treatment for other common eye disease. This is what rehabilitative, of course, provision for low vision services, community-based rehabilitation, counseling the blind, certification of the blind, and sensitization about the concessions available to the blind people. And the preventive, which is something has to be always in focus. These are the things that, yes, we have to really focus at the birth itself. Then vitamin A doses, then measles vaccination is very, very important. Prenatal care, avoiding medication during pregnancy, avoiding hypoxia at birth, and examination of eye of the newborn. That is how we can contribute, or through either what to call providing these benefits to them, or at every stage, if we are able to really commit ourselves to generate that awareness, I think we'll be able to make our contribution, which is worth appreciating and which is essentially needed to what to call control this particular challenge to the mankind, and depriving a large majority of people for contributing into the economic growth also, and bringing about social harmony within the system, in the families and community as such. I think I'm through with what I thought I should be sharing with you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, myself, I'm Dr. Janath. Thank you so much for always being a supporting pillar for our webinar events. This is our 34th episode, and I'm so happy that you have been with us for quite a long time, almost 3 years now. And in this webinar topic, you have elaborated on the causes of blindness. You have spoken about the primary and secondary preventive measures of blindness, how important is early diagnosis and treatment of blindness. And you also spoke to us about the national ophthalmic programs, the school health services, Vision 2020, and the new emerging discipline, especially the community ophthalmology. Thank you also for making that alarming note on increased screen time, which is very prevalent among the school-going kids nowadays. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure.
And now,
thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Over to the moderator now.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker was to have been Professor Sasmita Samanta, Vice Chancellor of KIIT University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and she was to have talked on eye donation and eye banking. Unfortunately, at the last minute, she was unable to make it to this webinar, and therefore we shall proceed to the third speaker, who will speak on artificial intelligence for the blind and the visually impaired. Professor Subhash Chandra Parija is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Sri Balaji Vidyapith University, Puducherry, an eminent academician, erudite microbiologist, researcher, keen votary of medical education, and able administrator. He was the former director of JIPMER Pondicherry, an author of 16 books and over 400 research papers in national and international journals. He's been listed among the top 2% of scientists globally in the field of tropical medicine. FAO WHO expert member on foodborne parasitic diseases, a BC Roy awardee in 2003 for his nodal contributions on the development of medical microbiology. He is the founder of Indian Academy of Tropical Parasitology and has been conferred with various fellowships that include FAMS, FICAI, FABM, FIMSA, etc. Sir?
Good afternoon, esteemed speakers of this for today's webinar series, Professor Akis Mudgal, Professor Sasmita Samant, and all the participants of this webinar. On my behalf and behalf of our Chancellor, C.M.K. Rajgopalan, and on behalf of the big family of Sri Balaji Vidyapith, I extend a hearty welcome to you all for today's 34th webinar series on raising awareness of eye care and eye donations. Today, I shall be sharing some of my thoughts on artificial intelligence for the blind and visually impaired. While I do so, I shall first define the meaning of the word artificial intelligence, also what we do understand by the term visually impaired, and in this context, why we should use artificial intelligence for the visually impaired. And while I do that, I'll also list what is the working principle of an artificial intelligence in visually impaired patients, applications of AI for visually impaired patients, and what are the existing technologies that are available for AI. And having told that, I'll enlist what is the future of artificial intelligence for visually impaired patients with the way forward. Visual impairment is a term experts use to describe any kind of visual loss, whether it is someone who cannot see at all or someone who has partial vision loss. Some people are completely blind, but many others have what is called legal blindness. World Health Organization defines blindness as visual acuity of less than 3/60 Snellen's or its equivalent. In the absence of appropriate vision charts, that is by non-specialized personnel, the WHO now has added the inability to count fingers in daylight at a distance of 3 meters to include less than 3/60 or its equivalent. Major cause of blindness and their estimated prevalences are wide. To give few example, there are 19 million cases of cataract, 6.4 million cases of glaucoma, 5.6 million cases of trachoma, and 1.5 million cases of childhood blindness. There are many causes of blindness, but the leading causes of blindness in developing countries include accidents, glaucoma, vascular diseases, cataract, and degeneration of ocular tissue. Leading causes of childhood blindness include xerophthalmia, congenital cataract, congenital glaucoma, and optic atrophy. Epidemiological determinants of blindness have shown many significant features. In children and young, includes reactive errors, trachoma, conjunctivitis, malnutrition, and in adults, it also includes cataract, refractive error, glaucoma, DM, etc., when we categorize on the basis of age. When we categorize on the basis of sex, higher prevalences of trachoma, conjunctivitis, and cataract are observed in women, leading to higher prevalence of blindness in men. In malnutrition cases, infectious diseases of childhood, especially measles and diarrhea, severe blinding, corneal destruction due to vitamin A deficiency in first 4 to 6 years of life contribute to the cause of visual impairment. Occupation also do have important role in the causative agents of visual impairment. For example, people working in factories, workshops, industries are more prone to eye injuries because of exposure to dust, airborne particles, flying objects, gases, fumes, radiations, etc. Social causes, social class includes that blindness is twice more prevalent in poorer classes than in the well-to-do families. Besides that, social factors also include ignorance, poverty, low standards of personal and community hygiene, and inadequate healthcare services. Then what can be done to prevent blindness? The components of action in national programs for the prevention of blindness comprise of many components. These include initial assessment, early intervention, that is based on primary eye care, secondary eye care, tertiary eye care, and eye care using specific programs. And also it includes long-term follow-up measures. And finally, it also includes re-evaluations. Artificial intelligence, when we talk about its role, it has got duplication of human intelligence, and it is supposed to learn from previous experiences and self-correct through deep learning. Artificial intelligence is the study and creation of computer systems that can perceive, reason, and act. It means goal is to develop an intelligent machine which is represented by learning, thinking, making decisions, and also solving problems. In this context of visual impairment, what is the role of artificial intelligence? Why you must use artificial intelligence? There are many reasons. First and foremost being, in vision impaired individuals, they find difficult in navigate outdoors and are on constant need for assistance in their daily life. Artificial intelligence is representation or duplication of human intelligence, as it is supposed to learn from previous experiences and self-correct through deep learning. In this context, humans mostly communicate through non-verbal gestures like like facial expressions, body languages, etc., which gets collected as data. It can be easy to use and cost-effective than other methods. Hence, artificial intelligence is being predicted as the future of the technology, and because it is much more reliable. Working principles depends on three important components. First and foremost being obstacle detection, second, collision detection, and finally, image recognitions. When we think of obstacle detection, it means with the help of ultrasonic sensor, distance from the obstacle is calculated, then Bluetooth distance between the obstacle and smart system can be used to transfer the computed distance. By collision detection, we mean accelerometer and ultrasonic sensors are helpful for collision detection. It also provides the audio system feedback. And when we talk of image recognitions, it means images can be captured by camera, then subsequently analyzed by the artificial intelligence, and the caption is generated for every captured image, which describes it to the visually impaired persons. Existing technologies in artificial intelligence can be exemplified by an iPhone app, that is artificial intelligence for visually impaired that narrates the world around you. It is, of course, powered by Microsoft's. Then another example is DISTI, that is an acronym of disambiguating real-time insights for supporting human with technical intelligence. This DISTI is also a smartphone-based assistant using AI technologies like image recognition, language processing, etc. And it's powered by Accenture. Then AI glass, it combines glasses with stereo sound sensors and GPS technology. They're attached to the tablet, which can give spoken directions and recognize currency, read signs, identify colors, and other things. Infrared lasers and ultrasonic rays beam out thousands of spots of light, and normal video camera records in detail. Infrared camera in turn picks up reflected spots from objects and sends to a computer. Position of spots reveal an object's shape and distance. Cameras could also scan written information such as bus numbers and relay to the earpiece. Another example is the finger reader. This was developed by MIT Media Labs project. This depends on a device that is a wearable device, that's a ring which sits on the finger and is capable of detecting and interpreting 12-point printed text as the user scans his or her finger across it and reads it out loud in real time. Small variations alert the wearer to any deviations of this line. Another important exam component is Ariana, that denotes path recognition for indoor assisted navigation with augmented perception navigators. This technology is mostly used indoors. In this, before use, colored tape is to be stuck on the floor to mark out specific routes. It can also be used to scan QR codes that can be stuck on the floor to guide them. the future, in a sense, is the concept of bionic eyes. Bionic eyes denotes an artificial eyes which provides visual sensors to the brain. It consists of electronic system having image sensors, microprocessors, conductors, radio transmitters, and retinal chips. Technology provided by this help the blind people to get vision again. Let's try to understand the bionic eye, how it works. This first prototype was the wide view neurostimulators. In this first component is the camera that captures image and transmits data to an external body worth processing unit. Second is the data being processed and sent to an implanted system via external wire. And third is the implanted receiver that passes signals into retinal implant. And fourth, after it is being sent to retinal implant, that implanted electrode array stimulates retina, and finally, electrical signals sent from retina via visual pathway to vision processing centers in the brain. This artificial intelligence in research with a background of visual impairment, many prototypes have been developed. One is AI integrating emotional intelligence, incorporating image matching, image recognition, voice recognition, voice output, speech recognition, and finally, face recognition, including facial expressions. This prototype, in essence, is built with a camera, microphone, and a speaker. It's a small device. Even it can fit into the user's shirt. When the user is walking down the street, the device detects each and every person which passes by. And depending on the facial expression, the device will be able to detect if the nearby person is about to attack or not. Then there are some most important discriminating features that are being studied by AI processing system include three important features. First important feature is the angle between the tip of the nose and the two corners of the mouth. Second feature that studies is upper lip curvature, and third feature is the distance between the inner corner of the eyes. In interrelated work, there are several studies. Just I give you a few important studies to mention that. One, in a Chinese study, AI was used to recognize innocents and criminals apart. In that study, they interestingly found only 6% of the innocents were recognized as criminals. To conclude, dear participants and my esteemed colleagues, we can project that artificial intelligence has been enhancing the life of the visual impaired in a great way. The technology too is vastly growing day by day and improving the quality of life, and will be the technology of this 21st century. It's a continuous process. AI experts and researchers are continuously, consistently trying to build a machine akin to the ear organ that is the ultimate goal. Maybe a few decades, a little or more from now, these machines will be able to understand, self-analyze, and help in betterment of human life in many domains. One of them could be in visual impaired patients. Thank you. Thank you very much for your patience hearing.
Thank you, sir. It is true, visual impairment does affect the quality of life quite significantly. And as you have very rightly elucidated, artificial intelligence, especially the bionic eye, seems to hold a lot of future among those for whom visual impairment is of such degree and of such magnitude that we are unable to help them by normal clinical measures. Thank you, sir. You want to talk to Dr. Rakesh Mittal? Thank you, sir, for being present throughout. I think we'll end the meeting for today. Thank you.